method that Jody and I learned a couple of years ago when we were going around the country. And so we're going to proceed with that today. So I think, Jody, you're going to put it up on the, okay. And if somebody would like to read through the whole thing, I think we'll just go ahead and do that. So this is 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 4 through 13. If someone would like to take a turn of just reading through the entire thing.
1 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 4 through 13. Now there were varieties of gifts, but the same Spirit. And there are varieties of services, but the same Lord. And there are varieties of activities, but it's the same God who activates all of them in everyone. To each is given the manifestation of the Spirit for the common good. To one is given through the Spirit of the utterance of wisdom, and to another the utterance of knowledge according to the same Spirit. To another faith by the same Spirit, to another gifts of healing by the one Spirit, to another the working of miracles, to another prophecy, to another the discernment of spirits, to another various kinds of tongues, to another interpretation of tongues. All these are activated by one and the same Spirit, who allots to each one individually just as the Spirit chooses. The word of the Lord.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now we're going to move on to the FAMA study. So let's just talk briefly about the facts of this particular Bible passage. What are the facts of this passage?
That we're all one body with various talents and various parts that need to come together.
Exactly. Exactly. Anyone else want to chime in with Hugh?
Everyone has gifts, as you said, being a part of one body.
Thank you. Thanks, Carter.
And we just remember that every gift is important. None is more important than the other. And that is why we have to work together to get the whole.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Perfect for a diocesan meeting, right? Perfect for it. Okay. As we're using this as a model, we're going to, if you are using this in your vestry or in your group, you can spend a long time with this. The projects or the programs that Jody and I participated with, this aspect sometimes took as long as 40 minutes, but it also took as short as like 10 minutes. So it's up to you to decide, how much in depth you want to go if you decide to use this format. Association. Connect the experience to your own feelings and lives. What does this passage mean to you, either personally or in your congregation, or in your community?
Anytime I ever hear this passage, and I feel like I hear it often, it reminds me that we're supposed to look for our gifts. Sometimes we forget that we have gifts, or we think that everything we're doing is wrong. So I think it's always a good passage to just reflect back on.
Thank you, Jody.
Yeah, I think it's aspirational and something we should constantly be reminded of.
Thanks, Hugh. Thank you. I mean, for me, I always think of this as this passage excites me personally. I can't really explain why, but I just feel like, so it's not really rational. It's just, you can see all the people, everybody with all of their gifts coming together. And every single time I hear this passage, I just feel excited and happy. And ready to go.
To me, what it represents is this, you think about any congregation in our church where there are different people with different talents, people with different gifts. And if all these resources, all the gifts come together, that church can be a wonderful church, a church that will prosper, a church that will succeed. And this is what this represents to me.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on down to our meaning. So identify and discuss the deeper meaning of the experience and its importance. So what do you think, what does this mean kind of deep down?
In order for our church, our world to prosper, we have to work together, appreciate each other, and support each other, because we are all different. We have the different gifts that the Lord has given us. We identify our gifts and work together. We have to, in the name of our Lord.
And there's a deep theological basis for this. We watched in the Gospels, we watch, and when we read and study the Gospels, we see this passage really enacted, either in the parables or in the actions and activity of Jesus and the disciples. So we get an up close front row seat at that when we study the Gospels and study the Acts of the Apostles, people working together for the glory of the Lord. And so what does this mean now as we invite people to take action in this? How do we do that? What does that look like?
I think you have to be patient because everybody brings their own gifts, but it may not necessarily agree with what you have, what your gifts are. But you have to listen. You have to listen to people and be open to new ideas because they bring in new ideas for you, new ways of thinking, new knowledge. And you have to be open to it. But I think most importantly is to communicate and be able to discuss things openly. You may not agree at all times, but that's okay. The idea is that you have one goal, and that is, for instance, for the diocesan office, for the bishop's office, our goal is you in the pews. You are our goal. You are our best. This is what we work for, and that's what we thrive for. How do we make our office better? And again, it's just a matter of a lot of communication, being open-minded, and being ready to take things on that you maybe not be too comfortable with.
Thank you, Cris. Anybody else? How do you feel invited to take action, or how, what does that passage mean to you?
I think it speaks directly to the Great Commission. Jesus is telling us about how he went about getting all the disciples together and how each church can sort of live out his mission. It's about strengthening the church and helping the church to fulfill its mission. So it's a formula that has worked. He has, in his ministry on earth. That's what he did with his disciples, and he has left that message for us, that for the church to survive and grow, that's the formula.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, one more time for one comment before we turn over to questions for Cris. One more time. Anybody? Going once? Going twice? Take it away, Cris.
Well, thank you all for taking Saturday morning to be with us. I am open to general questions, but if I may start off with the things that are really, really important to the bishop's office that comes from you is the parochial report. I know it's a bad word, but we have to do it every year, not only for the national church, but you have to understand that we base our budget for next year on that information. And we start working on our budget this month. So that report was due March 1st. So if we don't have it, we don't have current information for you. And the way that works is that we take the information from the parochial report, put it in our budget,
Mark and Tails dog groomer.
sorry. My dog is ready. He's at the groomer, sorry. We take that information, we take all the requests for the budget, put it together, and then we need to take it to executive board. Executive board approves it, then we can go to the spring convocations. We take the spring convocations of resolutions or complaints or suggestions. We meet back, redo if we have to the budget. We go back to executive board, and then we present it to our fall convocation. For the last many years, the fall convocation is basically what we present to the convention for approval. Hardly any changes have been made because everything has been discussed beforehand. So that's why the parochial report is very, very, very important. And then the other thing that we're doing is, as you may know, is that we're getting a whole new website, hopefully in a few months. And we're also we're getting a whole new database. The database that we have right now with all of your information is about 25 years old. So we are moving towards the future with a whole new database. And the key personnel report is where we gather all of our information. So in other words, if I have to send an email out to a particular church, and normally what I do is I send it out to the clergy, to the administrator, treasurer, senior warden, I get all my information from the database. If that's not up to date, then the important people of your diocese is not getting an important message. And that's the way we do with everything, with all communications. That's why we always are reminding people to say, hey, listen, if you have a change, let us know, because if we don't know, we can't help you. So that was due February the 15th, because we wait after annual your annual meeting when all you have new voting, so that you can update the key personnel report. Most importantly is the fact that we also get the information for your delegates and alternates. We're already working on convention in October. So if we don't know, if we don't have an updated information on your delegates and alternates, they're not going to start getting information that is vital for their vote in October. And by the way, this year is going to be a hybrid convention. We're going to be meet in person at St. Mark's, West Palm Beach, because it's a North Palm Beach deanery's time to host a convention. But most excitingly, the presiding bishop will be there in person. We're very, very excited about this. He was supposed to come at our 50th anniversary, but then COVID hit and we couldn't do it. So this is This is an exciting time, guys. The great thing is that if you can't make it to West Palm Beach, then we will be live streaming all of the convention and the Eucharist. So if you can't make it, you don't need to miss a moment of it. So we're already planning for it. Like I said, we're very excited, and we hope to see a lot of people there. I'll open up the floor to you guys for questions.
Okay, I have a question. I tried to, there's a link to the diocesan website on the home page. We means I'm from the Church of the Ascension. And I went on a couple of days ago and realized that the website is closed for reconstruction. So my question is, wouldn't it be a more useful idea if they was able to maintain the current website and develop the new one as a separate entity, so we'd still have access to the old one? Does that make sense?
I understand that, but you have to, we were without a communications person for several years. And the website was really, really old and stale. No one had worked on it. I don't know if you guys remember Tori White, but she left a few years ago. That was the last time we had really an updated website. And with all the changes and COVID that we've had related to COVID, nobody worked on it. So it was so old, and the information was so difficult to get to, because that was another one of your complaints, not yours, Hugh, but overall, is that it was not an easy website to access. In order to find something, you had to spend a lot of time going through different places. So we heard you, and we're trying to work on an easier, more user-friendly website. But the old website was not really good. So that's why I made a decision to just cut it off and then just start working on the new one. Now, you can call our office. You can call David, our receptionist, or you can call, I would prefer if you please send me an email, because I am on Zoom meetings like most of the day. And so an email is easier for me to follow. And if you need something, you need a form of some kind, we'll be there for you. We'll send it to you. The key personnel is available. We sent an email out, I believe, to everybody that we have on our old records, to where to with the link to the key personnel. We have a new form for key personnel. Also, we have a new form for the budget request. And but that is a link that we're sending out to all of our churches. And by the way, speaking of budget requests, I forgot to tell you is that the very, very good news is that I will guarantee you that your assessment for 2023 will be 10%.
Okay, all right, good.
You can bet your 2023 budget on that.
Okay.
And that is,
That's
I
great
think,
news.
great news, because we have gone from 14.99% in assessment down to 10. And just thought because I'm very happy about that. You can tell, because it's like at one of our meetings last year, and we had gone down from 12, I think, to about 11. This year's 11, and I didn't get a reaction from the crowd, and it was like, really, people, really, we've lowered the assessment. Be happy. And then after that, they went, oh, okay, yeah. Very disappointed. I wanted balloons. I wanted, people excited. But I guess I'm more into it than a lot of people. But anyway, yes, count on 10%
Great.
assessment.
Great.
Wonderful.
News.
Thank
We're
you.
thankful.
Thank you. I'm very happy about that.
I have a follow-up question on the
Yes.
tech ministry. Some years ago, there was a ministry that called themselves the Tech Girls, and they had a couple of seminars at the Duncan Center. I attended a few of them. Now, in our church, we're trying to get we're trying to find a resource, some entity that can help us to manage and maintain our website. So so my question is, does the diocese have a ministry or can refer someone who can, who can work with churches like ours? 'Cause we have a website going, but we need to keep it relevant and update, so is there anything that's available there?
Okay, not at the moment. We used to have an IT committee. And, but again, that one has phased away because of, we honestly, again, I'm not blaming everything in our lives on COVID, but a lot of things have changed because of it. This will be a very good idea to put together a committee of IT to help people with their website. I wish I could tell you that Shawnee Maxwell, our communications director, could be of help, but right now she's just one person and can't do it. But I think that's a great idea to have a committee to assist. I'm writing it down, as you can tell, assist churches with their website.
I mean, would it help if, let me just ask you this, Hugh. Would it help to have, we're not going to bring back our in-person meetings until the fall, but would it help if we found someone that could do an online tutorial for tech? Would that be helpful? Or if we found some people, if we found a consultant or an expert in the meantime, would that be something helpful for congregations?
Well, in a particular case, many years ago, we realized that we were way behind the eight ball in terms of a website. So we had a parishioner who, had rudimentary knowledge, so he pretty much got something together, but it was, from Adam and Eve time.
Yeah.
So eventually we pretty much got it going, and out of frustration, I was able to, sort of get something going. But a website is still an important, sort of entryway to a church. And I do not have the time or the expertise to really make it as effective as it can be and should be. Plus, I have the other stuff that one can get involved in. So I was hoping that there was that the church had that type. That the diocese had that type of resource. Because maybe there are other churches like ours out there who are probably losing exposure and possibly, whatever, because of the lack thereof. The alternative is to go commercially, get a commercial company to pretty much do that. But I'm just thinking if was more ministry based, Christian based, they'd probably be able to be more relevant with what they do to our sites to make it more, amenable. So,
you know what, we that would come under congregational vitality, I think, because a website is really big part of vitality, especially nowadays. So we'll do some feeling around and see if we can at least come up with something in the interim. It might not be the perfect solution, but we can try, right?
And I can tell you that it's a great idea because it's not just your church. A lot of churches need help. And I'll see what I'll start this ball rolling on my side.
Okay.
And maybe we can do something about that. I'm not saying it honestly, I don't know if I can do anything this year, but I can definitely try to do something for next year. And the other thing that I'm working on is to hire a bookkeeper, an accountant to go to churches, especially the small mission churches, and help them with managing, organizing their books, setting up their books in an easy software. I've been working on that for a couple of years, and I think I'm getting close to finding somebody who's willing to travel around our diocese and spend time with the churches and assisting them with their bookkeeping. So look for that too. We definitely are working on that.
Okay,
Hopefully for that I hope is for this year.
That'd be great.
Chris, good
No,
morning.
it is because wouldn't it be great if all of our churches, at least not all of them, but most of our churches have the same accounting
Would
software,
make sense.
our
Would
own
make-
general ledger. And when you need to do a report, all you have to do is like, press a button and all the reports are the same. So ideally, that would be, I think that would be of great help. So like I said, I've been working on that also.
Yeah,
That's a
we
great
welcome.
idea.
Chris, good morning. My name is Henry
Henry.
Ford from Holy Sacrament Church. Regarding the system, you mentioned a bookkeeper to go around to the different churches. Is there a standard system that the diocese has that they use or that all the churches can implement?
QuickBooks.
Many years ago, we started with QuickBooks. And we had a standard general ledger for all, and we actually bought the QuickBooks software for the churches. But because we didn't have a person to be responsible for keeping it up, and quite frankly, answering questions regarding QuickBooks, it's sort of phased out. See, the important thing is not just starting something, is the maintenance of it. So, and as treasurers rotate, a lot of times or bookkeepers rotate, a lot of times they're not taught. So I find that a lot of people call me and say, I don't know what to do. I just been made treasurer, I just been made bookkeeper. I don't know how to do this. And not having somebody to be there and assist, that's the problem, because maintenance is the most important thing. So that has fallen off the radar for a lot of churches. They have not bought, even though we bought the original software, they have not bought the upgrades. So again, it's not just a simple thing of sending somebody and buying the software for you and just getting it done. It's a lot more work that needs to get done with each church.
Yeah, because without the upgrades, you don't get the latest information.
I think it would be helpful if there was a standard system that the diocese would use and everybody would be on that system. Old Sacrament currently is on Power Church, and it's one of the worst systems, I must tell you. It's not user friendly. And we're looking at changing that right now. And I'm throwing this question to you because we're going to go to something similar to Power Church, and we're going to run into the same problem down the road.
We need also somebody to call different churches and say, all right, Power Church, what do you like about that? Is it user friendly? Can anybody come in and with minimal training work on that software? Does it provide all the information that you need for the parochial report, for any questions regarding your overall, not only accounting, but the tithing, the keeping record of all your pledges? That's what we need to find out. Until many years ago, definitely QuickBooks was doing the work. And I think that still, I would probably say QuickBooks. And the thing about QuickBooks is that it's very manageable as far as price is concerned. You don't want to buy a Cadillac when you don't know how it's going to be difficult to use it or to operate it. You want something that it's going to give you the information and be able to use it for many years. So that's why it's been difficult, not only getting a person to go to different churches on a regular basis, but also is having the churches agree to changing their program or to agree to do the general ledgers. So anyway, yes, I don't have, I would say that right now, what I know of, QuickBooks is the easier thing, but then there's things that QuickBooks that will not do with Power Church, but then QuickBooks is a lot cheaper than Power Church.
Mm. Okay.
So it would be something like this type of scenario where we can get a lot of people with different accounting systems and say, all right, this is what I like about this is what I don't like about this, and how can we, what would be the best one that would take the general requirements for all of our churches, no matter how big or how small.
Okay.
And understand also that we are concentrating on the smaller churches, on our missions, because they're the ones that have the least amount of people to volunteer to keep up the information. Okay, so, but we'll work, of course, with all churches, but my main concern is a lot of the missions that they just don't have the resources, people or money to keep up with a very complicated or very expensive accounting software.
Okay.
We're working on it. It's just that we have a lot of projects going on that we want to implement, but it's getting the people that's the problem.
Another
Hillary?
question for Cris.
I think Hillary has her hands up.
Okay. Hillary? No?
Well, I have a question. This is Couture Harris from St. Philip's Episcopal in Pompano Beach. And this is in regard to the parochial report. And this was my first year inputting into the system. So with the new website coming on board, would there be an upgraded software to support when you download the form to fill it out, where you can just upload it instead of having to download, input the information, and then when you go to the site to put everything, you got to do it all over again?
Okay, so first of all, the parochial report is not a diocesan report. That's a national church.
Okay. So
So
it's not
the national church does have a website that you input the information right into the report. I mean, you can print out a blank one, fill it out, and then input, or you can input it directly. As soon as you input that information, the national church gets updated with your information, but it also comes to me. So, but I have nothing to do with it. A few years ago, the national church also changed access to the website. Before, I had the information, the user ID and the password for each church. But a few years ago, the national church changed. And now that information is only with your church. So if, let's say that last year, when the report was filled out, the person who did it used their own password and left and didn't give you, and then leave the information. Easy way of going about it. All you need to do is go to the site and say, I forgot my password. Click on that, and then you will be able to get, put in your own password and access the system. Once you complete the whole information, the system tends to close it. So if you look at it and you say, oh, I made a mistake, give me a call and I will open it up for you. I recently pulled the income from all the churches that already reported, and I was really happy, but really not skeptical about one of our churches had operating income of about $5,600,000. And I thought, great. Then I said, yeah, it's a mistake. So went back with it. And that's the other thing I look at. I look at if there's a lot of increases between one year or the other. And if there's a significant amount, I will call you and say, are you sure about this? And if it is, that's fine. I'm happy for you. But I also look at the other way around. If it's a significant decrease, I tend to call also and find out, what's going on. Another little note about, again, we use that information for putting together our budget, which of course is linked to your assessment, even though right now it's going to be 10%. But if you ever need, if there's ever a mistake on that, you can come after a convention. Let me just go. After a convention approves an assessment, nobody can change it except executive board. So we have a committee called Parish Finance and Assessment. That's a recommending body to the executive board. And if you have problems meeting your 10% assessment, or you need aid to congregation, actual cash to you to cover your overhead expenses, you come to the PFNA committee. We meet like maybe 4 times a year, not on regular dates, but we have 2 dates in January. We met in March. We're going to meet again in June, and then probably in September. So if you have financial problems in your church, call us to make an appointment for the Parish Finance and Assessment Committee. The committee hears your request, and then they recommend to the executive board. The executive board is the final say-so. I'm giving you too much information. Let me know, because, you know, again, you can call me at any time, but there's a lot of information that I want to make sure that you guys know of how everything works.
Another question for Cris.
I'd like to know that 10% in the assessment.
Yes.
When would that be effective?
January 1st, 2023.
2023. I thought it was
And
gonna
you know,
be.
you understand why, right?
No,
aside-
tell me why.
Well, the diocese had 2 senior housing buildings in West Palm Beach. And in June of 2020, I can probably tell you the time and the hour. One of the buildings suffered a major electrical blackout. The whole system, which now I am really knowledgeable about what a bus duct is and what it is. And the whole electrical system for the building blew. Within 4 hours, we had to get housing. We had to move out almost 190 some residents. And for 3 months, we had to, it took to fix it. And we had to house and feed and provide transportation for all these people. That was a wake-up call for us, because we are not in the business of senior housing. We don't have the expertise. It was very costly. And it was decided then that we were going to sell it. And we had a sister building right next to it that we also decided to sell. And from the proceeds of that sale, the diocese established an endowment. That endowment is meant to provide income for the budget on an annual basis. And because we're getting this money, this interest from the endowment, we were able to lower the assessment rate to 10%. So the thing is this, and I'll tell you, the endowment was set up where it's only meant to supply interest income or net income to the budget. Nobody can go to the endowment committee and say, hey, listen, I have this really good committee to save the spotted owls, and I need $2 million endowment. And we're gonna say, we can't do it. You have to go through the budget. And then you go through the budget and request monies for your particular ministry. And then that's where it's gonna flow through. There's not going to be anything that the endowment committee is going to be able to do other than be sure that the money is managed correctly, so we can get an annual withdrawal of funds to the budget committee. So this year, when we're planning for 2023, I'm opening the floodgates right now. If you have a particular ministry that you feel that the budget should consider, send it to us. And then we'll see if we can accommodate. I'm not promising that it will be, even though the spotted owls are very important little birds. It has to be done through the proper channels, and the proper channels is the property and loan. I'm sorry, budget. Property and loan, that's my life. Property and loan, PF&A budget. What can I tell you? Work with that every single day.
You know,
Yes,
I
Deb.
want to add one thing, Chris, too, because the buildings were sold really carefully. The diocese didn't sell the buildings to developers that kicked the people out. The buildings were sold very carefully to a company that provides senior housing, so that it was a win for everybody. The diocese got out of managing senior housing and sold the buildings to a company that's what they do. So
Yep.
the people remained safe.
And thank you I've been living with this for so many years that for me, it's like, I think everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Very good point. First of all, we have a committee, which Judith Celestine was kind enough to be part of it, where we meet with the residents still, and we haven't let go. We want to make sure that they're all safe. We made sure that no one was thrown out, nobody was misplaced. This company is fantastic. They're one of the leading senior housing providers. Because of the sale, which something we could not afford, they got huge upgrades. Each apartment was upgraded to up to about $40,000. They got new kitchen equipment. They got painted things, new bathrooms. We could never have afforded that. But because of the sale, this new company was able to do all of that for the residents. It was definitely an upgrade to what we could afford or what we could do by selling it to this company. In addition, we added a line item for this year of $100,000 that to be able to fund a housing, not just senior housing, but any type of housing program. And it doesn't have to be Episcopalian. It could be anything that's worthy of it. And we just need to start applying for it, getting applications for it. For instance, Deborah has this unbelievable workhouse building that's in the Keys. That is a great thing that she did in the Keys, because a lot of people that work in the Keys cannot afford to live in the Keys. So she provided workforce housing for it. And that's the type of the type of organization that we want to be able to fund. Not necessarily annually. We want to make sure that we do spread the money around, but that we can have this type of ability to support senior housing, workforce housing, that type of, because since we're no longer owning a building, we have to help somehow, right? And that's how we're doing it.
Okay, Chris, now that you have opened that avenue, let me ask, are there any other physical assets that the diocese have that we're not, that is actually an income source, or were those two housing facilities the only property that the diocese has?
Well, we have, I don't know, many years ago, we had the Bishop Gray Inn, and that was senior housing. And we provide monies from an endowment that was designated just for senior housing, for Episcopalians who can't afford a senior housing. And if they apply through the Bishop Gray Inn, they are provided a senior housing near their home. that is comfortable for them to go to, and it's for lifetime. Once you get approved for this kind of help with your housing, we're committed to pay for your housing until you go to heaven. And that is a great resource. We don't manage it. We give money to it, and it's called the Bishop Gray Inn. If you go to convention, they usually have a table, a vendor table with information. And if you need or know somebody that needs senior housing and can't afford it, let us know and we'll put you in touch with Ginger. She's the administrator for the Bishop Gray Inn, and she can assist you with the application.
I mean, at least in the past, our diocese underutilized this trust money. Is that still the case, Cris?
No, there was, many years ago, there was a problem with the, I don't know, with the way the board was handling the distribution. And it was decided by the bishop at that time and the three of the senior staff of that time, the archdeacon and the bishop, to stop funding until things got better. And last year, I met with the Bishop Gray Inn, and we were able to iron out our differences. And we have started funding since last year.
So people, so people in the congregations are taking advantage of this resource now. We're getting people actually applying now.
To be truthful, yeah. As of last year, I have not checked this year, but as of last year, when we were in discussion, because the Bishop Gray Inn takes care of the 3 dioceses, which is Central, Southeast, and Southwest, okay? That's the area that the Bishop Gray Inn was set up, and we continue to do that. When we were looking at it, I requested a report of how many of our people they were handling. And it was almost a little bit, it was almost the highest of the 3 dioceses. We had more people than the other 2 dioceses that we were doing. And it's a great resource, quite frankly, it is. You should, again, if you know somebody who needs it, please.
Jody's put the email, the website in the messaging, if you want to see it.
Thank you, because that's important. There's several, you need to talk to them and consider the requirements, but being Episcopalian is one of them, okay? So, but yeah, it's a good resource.
Okay, Cris, a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what's going on with the Duncan Center?
Okay, so going back to my nemesis, or our nemesis, the Duncan Center, because it's not like a church, their whole business is getting people in person to meet and stay overnight. Because of COVID, they had to close their doors. We had to refund all the deposits that we had. And to be truthful, it's especially hurtful because they went through a rough patch and then they turned it around. They were beginning to become solvent. They were working so hard. That committee, that board was great with the help of the bishop's office. And they were beginning to turn around and see the light, and then COVID hit. And we had to put it what we call in mothballs, which means that we kept one guy on the payroll, which is the guy that goes around the whole property and makes sure that the equipment the pool is done right, that he checks the water flow, he checks the bathrooms, he checks the AC, making sure that even though without any use, the equipment is still in good condition. And we pay for a bookkeeper to take care of the overhead bills that needs to be paid. And we're working for, we had a gentleman that has been working with us for a few years. His name is Canon Lang Lowry. Do a study of what's the best use of the Duncan Center. And what he did was he called many of the clergy and asked them questions regarding what they thought of the Duncan Center, what they thought was the best use of it, would they use it? A lot of churches have not used the Duncan Center for their meetings. It's just one excuse after the other. So he's putting together a report, and he's presenting it to the Property and Loan Committee, and then from the Property and Loan Committee, we'll present it to the Executive Board with ideas of what's the best use of the property. And we'll just see. A lot of clergy said, yeah, I don't want to use it, but I don't want you to sell it. So it's an interesting paradox, because they want to keep it, but they're like, nah, I'm not going to use it. So we'll see. We're working on it. Let's just put it that way.
Well, our time is almost up. We're a 1 hour program. We have time for one more question. If there is a question for Cris.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I tell you, I'm monopolizing this meeting.
No, you're fine. You have great questions. You always do.
We are recently sort of in the final stages of wrapping up a lease for our
on your school.
Center for the
Yay.
school, right? And one of the things, because our entire congregation have been involved, and it's the first time we're pretty much doing this. And one of the burning anxieties, that they have is the school is a non-Episcopalian school, so it's a private entity, but it is Christian based. So one of the things that's troubling to a congregation is that, well, it's no secret that the Episcopal Church seems to be contracting as opposed to growing. No, the school is, they have great ideas. The vision is high. They're hoping that at some point, if they continue to grow, they might grow to the point where they might outgrow us if we continue to go in one direction and they go the other direction. So congregation is concerned that at some point in time, they might want to purchase our entire campus so they can have a church and a bigger school, what have you. So my question is this something that could happen, or does the diocese and the bishop's office, how would that work?
I can tell you that the bishop is very, very clear about not selling church property. If it works out that they want to maybe build a whole new school, and because you have some vacant land available, if they want to build us in a place, we would probably work out a lease, just like we're doing with the bishop's office. We leased the property. We never sold it, and we have a lease for 99 years. And we're working in developing the entire property to provide income for the diocese for 99 years, which will all be there to say, yes, we did it, 99 years, we got money out of that lease. I would say that if Property and Loan can help you with that, but I can tell you that the bishop's idea is to use the property to provide income for the church, a steady income for the church. And if we can do that, if we can work with the school and have them provide more income, and they'd be responsible for maybe the construction of a building on your vacant land, if that's what you want. we would never lose the church. Okay. There's a lot of, we're working with many churches, to be truthful, in trying to repurpose the property. We have a lot of churches with vacant land, and they can't afford a priest. So we're working with them, and it's a long process. It is a slow process because, again, there's so much going on. But we're working with them. We're trying to say, all right, how can we best use your property, keep the church, keep your ministry, but provide income for you that you can continue your ministry and your church. So don't think that anybody can come in and say, I will give you so much for the property, and we'll say, okay, yeah, thank you. No, that's not going to happen. That's not the bishop's idea. The idea is to repurpose your property so that your church will have steady income for many years to come. So don't have them worry about it. It's not going to happen. I can tell you, the bishop will say no. He's done that in the past. He has not. He tells people, I don't. There's no selling of property, because a lot of churches. No, never mind. I don't want to go into that because it's just not fair to you guys. But that's the purpose. We want to use your property to provide income for the church. Bottom line.
Sounds good.
Yes. Well, I mean, I want to say thank you again to everyone for participating, and for Cris for coming to answer our questions. Like you heard in the beginning of the program, if you want to get in contact with Cris, the best way to contact her is by email. I can say from my own experience, as I mean, I've been the rector of St. Columba now for 15 years, and we started off as a very marginal mission, and she has really always assisted St. Columba in our growth, celebrated our triumphs, helped to keep us on the right path. And there has really been no question too small to ask her. And if she doesn't know the answer, she'll give you the name of the person to ask to get the answer. So she has been a tremendous help, not only to St. Columba, but I think to everyone that calls her. And so, Cris, I'm sorry for saying that, because now people know that you return every single phone call and every single email. And
I have to tell you, I get close to maybe 40 to 50 emails a day and about 20 phone calls a day. I return the calls, even though 2 weeks later, I'm still trying to catch up. But I do return them because that's I have to. But a quick response, and you have to understand that we don't. The bishop doesn't have an assistant at the moment. So between Sybil and I, we are sharing the responsibilities, and so our time is even less in to do our jobs. So yes, I apologize if I don't return things quickly, calls quickly, but I will. It will happen. It's just not on a time frame that you probably want. And I apologize for that.
But also, don't let a small problem or a small question get out of hand. Just a small problem can turn into a big problem, but sometimes with the right intervention, it doesn't have to. So a tremendous resource for us all, and thank you so much from Congregational Vitality for coming to our program. If you have an interest in any topic Because right now, Jody and I, we are putting together our kind of calendar for what's coming up between 2022 and 2023. Just, let us know, and we'll go out and find the right people, or, try to follow up on your topic so that we can best serve you in the name of Jesus. I mean, that's what it's all about, right?
Mhm.
So thank you, everyone. And I don't know, Cris, you want to close us out with a prayer?
Are you nuts? I'm gonna.
I'm not. You go
You
right
pray.
ahead.
No, you guys are much better at it. I'm good at listening. I am not. No, Bishop Schofield did that to me once, and I haven't forgiven him yet.
Okay, well, I want to be forgiven by you. So the Lord be with you.
And also
Also,
you.
Also with you.
We thank you for this day, and we thank you for our many hands and many gifts, and especially for your servant, Cris Valdes, who serves you and serves each one of us each and every day. May God bless Cris and her family as they journey along this pathway. Bless us in this holy season as we journey toward Jerusalem and then to the cross, and finally to our beloved Easter. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for being with us.
Everyone,
Thank you.
go in peace.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
weekend. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right.
Okay.